Frodo is a hobbit, a small, peaceful race that lives in a quiet region called the Shire. He comes from the Baggins family, which is known for being respectable and somewhat well off among hobbits. He was raised by his relative Bilbo Baggins, who had previously gone on an adventure and brought back the One Ring without fully understanding what it was. Frodo doesn't have a job in the usual sense, since hobbits mostly live simple lives focused on farming, food, and comfort. But he is educated, thoughtful, and more curious about the outside world than most of his kind. What sets Frodo apart is that he inherits the ring from Bilbo, and with that comes a responsibility no one else wants. As the ring bearer, his task is to carry it all the way to Mount Doom and destroy it. He doesn't have special combat skills or magical powers, so his role is entirely based on endurance and willpower. The closer he gets to Mordor, the heavier the burden becomes. You can see how it isolates him from others. And the entire mission depends on his ability to keep going, despite the ring slowly breaking him down.
Samwise Gamgee. Sam is also a hobbit from the Shire, and he comes from a much more working-class background. He's Frodo's gardener, which means he takes care of Frodo's land and helps maintain his home. Unlike Frodo, Sam has very little experience with the outside world at the beginning. He's not particularly adventurous by nature. However, he deeply admires Frodo and feels a strong sense of loyalty toward him. Throughout the journey, Sam takes on many practical roles. He cooks, carries supplies, and makes sure they survive day to day. More importantly, he acts as Frodo's emotional support. When the ring begins to take control of Frodo, Sam is the one who reminds him of who he is and what they're fighting for. And without him, Frodo would not have been able to complete the journey.
Of course, Gandalf. Gandalf is a wizard, but not just any wizard. He's part of a group known as the Astari, beings sent to Middle-earth to help guide its people against the rise of darkness. He doesn't come from Middle-earth originally, but instead from a higher realm, which gives him a deeper understanding of the world's history and the threat of Sauron. Gandalf spends much of his time traveling, learning, and advising different races, including hobbits, men, elves, and dwarves. He's the one who discovers the true identity of the ring and realizes how dangerous it is. He gives it to Frodo after he insists. Rather than trying to use his power to solve everything directly, he focuses on bringing people together and encouraging them to act. He plays a key role in forming the Fellowship and setting the quest in motion. Gandalf can fight and use magic when needed, but his real strength lies in his wisdom and judgment. He matters because he's the one who understands the bigger picture.
Now, Aragorn. Aragorn is a human, specifically a descendant of the ancient kings of Gondor. He comes from a long line of rulers, but he does not live as a king at the beginning of the story. Instead, he works as a ranger, traveling the wild lands and protecting people from threats in secret. This life has made him skilled in tracking, fighting, and survival. Despite his abilities, he avoids claiming his royal title at first, partly because he understands the weight of that responsibility and the expectations that come with it. Aragorn joins the Fellowship to help protect Frodo and guide the group through dangerous territory. He's also in love with an elf woman who's daughter of Elrond, the Lord of Rivendell. Over time, he becomes a leader, especially when the group splits and others need direction. He also defends Rohan from extermination by army of Saruman. But even with all his achievements and becoming the king of Gondor, he remains the same he was. This makes Aragorn the epitome of masculinity.
Legolas. Legolas is an elf from the woodland realm of Mirkwood, and he's the son of its king, Thranduil. Elves are an ancient race that has lived in Middle-earth for thousands of years, and are known for their grace, skill, and connection to nature. Legolas is a skilled archer with sharp eyesight and quick reflexes, making him extremely effective in battle. He joins the Fellowship as a representative of the elves, bringing their perspective and support to the mission. Unlike humans, elves do not age in the same way, and they're more aware of the long history of Middle-earth. Legolas often reflects this by being calm and observant. Over the course of the journey, he forms a strong friendship with Gimli, which is significant because elves and dwarves have a long history of conflict.
Gimli's a dwarf, the son of Glóin, who was one of the companions in Bilbo's earlier adventure. He comes from a culture that values strength, craftsmanship, and loyalty. Dwarves are known for their skill in mining and building, as well as their toughness in battle. Gimli joins the Fellowship as a representative of the dwarves. He's a strong fighter, often using an axe in combat, and is not afraid to face danger directly. At the beginning, he carries some distrust toward elves, especially Legolas, due to the long-standing tensions between their races. However, as they travel together, that distrust fades and turns into mutual respect and friendship. Gimli's role is both physical and symbolic.
Boromir. Boromir is a human warrior from Gondor, one of the major kingdoms of men in Middle-earth. He's the son of Denethor, the steward of Gondor, which makes him a key figure in defending the city. Boromir has spent most of his life fighting against the forces of Sauron, so he understands the threat very well. When he learns about the ring, he sees it as a potential weapon that could be used to protect his people. This belief comes from his desire to save Gondor, not from selfishness, but it leads him into danger. The ring begins to influence his thoughts, making him believe that using it is the only solution. This internal conflict reaches a breaking point when he tries to take the ring from Frodo. However, he quickly realizes his mistake. Boromir matters because he shows how even strong and honorable people can be tempted.
Merry's a hobbit from the Shire and a close friend of Frodo. He comes from the Brandybuck family, which is known for being more adventurous and curious than most hobbits. Merry's intelligent and practical, often thinking ahead and paying attention to details that others might miss. While he starts the journey as part of the group mainly out of loyalty and friendship, he gradually becomes more involved in important events. He learns to adapt to situations outside the comfort of the Shire and becomes more confident in his abilities. Merry doesn't have special powers or training, but he proves that he can contribute in meaningful ways when it matters.
Fool of a Took. Peregrine Took, or Pippin, is a hobbit from the Shire, from the Took family. He joins Frodo when they leave the Shire, mostly because he doesn't want to be left behind. Early on, he causes trouble in Moria by dropping a stone into a well, which alerts enemies and leads to an attack. Later, when captured by Uruk-hai, he deliberately drops a brooch to leave a trail for Aragorn. He is bold but extremely reckless, which causes trouble to the Fellowship. He also secretly looks into a palantir, accidentally making contact with Sauron. Pippin's growth is gradual, moving from a carefree young hobbit to someone who understands duty and loyalty.